Hi, I'm Mark Cerny.
You are hiding something.
Can we just stick to the issue at hand?
Oh, what does that mean? That you cannot declare offshore investment losses against future capital gains.
Oh, pull it up, Jamie.
That. But unfortunately, we're coming up on our time limit for this video, so let me share a couple final thoughts. For starters, the technology powering Spider-Man 2 remains excellent. It's a nice evolution of Insomniac's work on prior games, and the fact that they got another game out already is genuinely mind-blowing. It doesn't completely rewrite the visual identity of the game, but what's here looks amazing, and there are noticeable leaps over the last generation games, often in areas beyond the visuals. As for the game itself, I think they've done a great job here as well. Early on, you're introduced to all the various side missions and mechanics, which aren't bad, mind you, but I was moderately concerned about padding. Well, it turns out you can pretty much ignore these if you choose, and just stick to the main plot. So if you're not someone that wants to engage with a bunch of side quests, you don't really need to do so most of the time. That said, the side missions that are here do feature more variety than the first game, but the main story is what excited me the most, and it definitely delivers. In fact, the storytelling is a huge highlight here. Without a doubt, this is the best story Insomniac has told in any of their games to date. It's so well executed, and as a fan of Die Spinne, I was delighted with how things play out. So, if you're a fan of the Spider and happen to own a PlayStation 5, what can I say? You're in for a treat. The game is great, the technology impressive, and the whole package just feels remarkably polished. It's been a tough year for big game releases, in terms of polish anyways, but Insomniac has absolutely nailed it.
In real life is a monster, but it's hard to encapsulate that in a really small little game world. Still, I'm just glad it's there, and it's nice that there are tons of bridges to swing around and really just more to explore. The city just feels so much bigger, like when you're perched on a building overlooking an entire highway like the BQE, just like filled with cars and traffic. And again, with the bridges, with the river, it feels way more like a fully fleshed out New York now. And technically wise, it all performs great. Loading, fast traveling, everything is super fast and detailed. It has a performance and fidelity mode, as well as a 40 mode if you have a 120Hz TV, which is nice. And none of the modes really show significant compromises to my naked eye, other than frame rate. I had 2 crashes in like over 30 hours of playing. That was really my only complaint.
The claim that Marvel's Spider-Man 2 launched in a fudged-up state on PlayStation 5 doesn't hold up against actual performance reviews, especially from a source as reputable as Digital Foundry. Their breakdown of the game paints a very different picture. Spider-Man 2 wasn't just a technically sound launch. It was one of the most polished AAA releases of 2023. They highlighted the game's advancements in ray tracing reflections, interior rendering, and overall visual fidelity, calling it the best example of RT reflections in an open-world console game at the time. If Spider-Man 2 had serious technical issues on PS5, Digital Foundry, who are known for deep technical analysis and performance scrutiny, would have absolutely pointed them out. Instead, their review praised the polished stability and performance of the game, only noting minor nitpicks like texture seams and occasional bugs. The fact that they didn't report any major performance problems or game-breaking issues suggests that the claim about Spider-Man 2 launching in a broken state is revisionist at best. So why are some PC gamers pushing this narrative now, likely as damage control for the disastrous PC launch? The Spider-Man 2 port has been heavily criticized for poor optimization flickering issues on high-end GPUs and overall worse than expected performance, especially given that Sony's previous PC ports were relatively well received. Instead of acknowledging that the PC version has serious problems, some players are trying to rewrite history, claiming that Spider-Man 2 was also broken on PS5 to make it seem like this is just normal for the game, but the facts don't support that argument. What makes this even more ironic is that the same Digital Foundry team who praised the PS5 version have been noticeably silent about reviewing the PC port. This suggests that the problems with the PC version are so significant that they aren't comfortable giving it a full technical breakdown yet. Alright, let's break this down, because somehow people still don't get it. There are 2 types of grifters circling Spider-Man 2 right now. First, you've got the clueless reporters asking what happened. Why isn't it selling well on PC? As if the answer isn't obvious. It was cracked in less than 2 minutes. That's right, gone, just like that. And yet these people pretend it never happened. They talk around it, speculate about marketing, pricing, or whatever nonsense excuse they can come up with. But they won't acknowledge the one thing staring them right in the face. And then there's the other group, the ones claiming Spider-Man 2 flopped on PC because it's woke, as if that's the reason. Again, completely ignoring the fact that the game was pirated instantly. Why? Because Sony made one crucial mistake. They didn't require a PlayStation Network account to play. That's it. That's the real reason. But no, let's blame some imaginary culture war instead. Now, let's talk about SteamDB, because apparently we need to have this conversation again. SteamDB player counts. They tell you absolutely nothing about single-player game sales. You cannot and should not use those numbers to determine how many copies a game actually sold, but that doesn't stop people from pretending otherwise, using them to push whatever narrative they're selling. Well, what else is there to say? The math speaks for itself. And the funniest part, I've had PC gamers show up in my comments proudly explaining how easy it is to pirate these games, just openly admitting to it. At least try not to incriminate yourselves. But we're not done yet. Enter Digital Foundry, usually the go-to for technical breakdowns, but suddenly, radio silence. Why? Because Spider-Man 2 runs terribly on PC, and they don't know how to handle that. They're so sad about it, so disappointed that Nix's didn't deliver a good port. They just don't review it. Here's the thing, I already did the comparisons. I already said Spider-Man 2 isn't looking great on PC. And yet people ask, how do you know? You're just a Sony fanboy with your peasant console? Well, fun fact, I have a freelancer, and that freelancer works for free. That's right, my brother. And he's running a 4090 GPU in a rig that costs around $4,000. So yeah, I've seen it firsthand. The flickering, the issues, all of it. Sure, there are tweaks, adjustments, turn off DLSS, change this setting, fix that. But let's be real, no one wants to admit the obvious. The law of diminishing returns is real, and spending an extra $3,500 just to get an experience that might be better. Yeah, not worth it. Even my brother disagrees with me on that, but hey, facts don't care about opinions, and that, my friends, is the truth about Spider-Man 2 on PC. One likely outcome is that Sony reintroduces PSN account requirements for all future PC releases. Initially planned for Helldivers 2, this was met with strong backlash from PC players, leading Sony to back down. However, after witnessing Spider-Man 2's instant piracy, executives might double down on stricter DRM measures. PSN integration would not only make piracy harder, but also allow Sony to keep players within its ecosystem, ensuring they remain engaged with PlayStation services, rather than just treating PC ports as one-time purchases. Another possibility, Sony launching its own PC platform. Right now, PlayStation relies on Steam and the Epic Games Store to distribute its games. But if piracy revenue cuts to third-party platforms and a lack of control over sales data become bigger concerns, Sony might create its own PlayStation launcher for PC. This would allow them to control DRM, implement PSN integration, and even introduce exclusive content, essentially mirroring what Ubisoft, EA, and Rockstar have done with their own platforms. While unpopular, it would be a logical business move. I really thought if I showed them, if I didn't just talk but actually showed them the reality, they'd start to see the truth. But nope, the opposite happened. Instead of acknowledging what's right in front of them, they act like I intentionally made the footage look bad. And I'm just sitting here thinking, how do these PC-centric creators manage? I watched a bunch of them, and I get it now. They appeal to the audience. Even Linus Tech Tips was scared of admitting the truth. He did a video where the PS5 killer for $500 using secondhand parts, and guess what? The PS5 completely destroyed it. And Linus, he hesitated. You could tell he didn't want to say it, but in the end, even he had to admit, yeah, we gotta give it to Sony. They really outdid themselves with the PS5. That was almost 2 years ago, and there's still no $500 PC that competes with the PS5. And now, PS5 Pro. PS5 Pro is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it is. It destroys any PC at double the price. And sure, people can argue, but Counter-Strike runs at 300 FPS, or GTA 5 hits 150 FPS. Yeah, congrats. It's an unlocked FPS game from 2013. But what about Spider-Man 2, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us Part 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart? They all look and run better on PS5 Pro than on most PCs, period. And then they pull out Cyberpunk 2077 like it's their trump card. Yeah, my brother and maybe 100 other people can play it with insane mods, but most gamers, they're not running at that level. Even if one of these games technically runs at 140 frames per second on PC compared to 60 or 80 on PS5 Pro, does it actually look or feel better? No stuttering, no glitches, no performance inconsistencies. That's what the console experience delivers. This whole thing feels like a weird social experiment. When a game runs poorly on PS5, people immediately look at the developers like, bro, you had one console to optimize for what happened. If a game flops on PlayStation, it's a huge deal. On PC, no worries, modders will fix it soon. And they still refuse to acknowledge the difference.
Boy, That escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?